What's up, basketball fans? Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, as always, Jimmy Crowther, and we're a little about 6 weeks away from the NBA draft, so I'm going to start breaking down top 10 prospects by position, and today we got my top 10 point guards in this year's draft. Now, before I get into my top 10, I do want to give credit to the guys that didn't make the cut, and this might make some of you mad, but this is just my take on it. Cassius Winston, I love the kid. I think he's going to be a steal in the early second round, but as a senior, you kind of know what you're going to get, which means he's not that valuable to a lot of teams. Malachi Flynn is a guy to watch out for that I still think could climb up draft boards, including my own, after the draft combine, the virtual draft combine, that is, but still got him at number 12. Marcus Howard out of Marquette, incredible scorer, can score from anywhere, but he's just a little too small for me. Grant Riller, a kid from Charleston, small college, big numbers from that guy. And then Devon Dotson out of Kansas. Didn't have a great freshman year showing at KU. Sophomore year was much, much better, but a little bit inconsistent and a little bit too up and down for him to crack my top 10. Now, maybe it's one of those 5 guys I just mentioned, or maybe it's somebody that I don't even have in my top 15. Name a sleeper point guard prospect. So go ahead, go to the comment section and wake everybody up and name your sleeper point guard prospect for the 2020 NBA draft. There's a lot of fun guys, both international and college, but I'm going to get into my top 10 right now. Starting off at number 10 is a kid out of France that you may or may not have heard of, Theo Maledon. Very smooth point guard, but he mainly stays out on the perimeter. He's not very explosive, but when he does get to the rim, he's got a crafty finish, and he can finish well with the length that he has. He's not a good defender. Let me make that very clear. That's kind of why I have him down at 10, and he's starting to slip down my draft board a little bit more because he's just not that athletic. And when you're not that athletic, that means your defense really isn't that good. Now, the reason he is in my top 10 is because as an 18-year-old kid coming out of France, he was playing with grown men in a totally different league. And his per 36 numbers were pretty impressive for an 18-year-old. 15 points per game, a good passer at 6 assists per game, a good rebounder because he's got those long, lanky arms. Three-point shot was okay, but he's got the mechanics to make it work. I think he will be a solid pickup either in the late first round or early second round for a team that even honestly could be looking to do a draft and stash. Now, from international players, we're going to go back into the NCAA with Tre Jones out of Duke. One of, if not the smartest point guard in the entire NCAA. And really, the fact that he stayed at Duke for as long as he did well for him in his draft stock because it helped him improve his jump shot, which was a little bit shaky when he started out at Duke. Now, he's a smart defender, and if it weren't for him being so small, he'd be higher up on my draft board. But because he's kind of an undersized point guard, 6 feet tall, without shoes, that makes him slip down. But this past year at Duke, he did put up 16 points per game. He dished the ball out well at 6 assists. And even though he's small, he pulled down rebounds pretty well at 4 rebounds per game. I expect Tre Jones to be a better NBA prospect than his brother, Tyus Jones. Now, one thing I want to make sure you know to do right now, and this will always be in my top 10 of things to do, is go to Fanatics and get an NBA-themed face mask. Go to chatsports.com/NBA mask. So whoever your favorite team is, or maybe you're just like Jimmy, I'm just more of a college basketball fan, hey, that's okay, because as college basketball fans, you're going to have to jump on an NBA bandwagon when your favorite player gets drafted. So get ahead of the game. Go to chatsports.com/NBA mask. You can get 1, packs of 2, packs of 3, or packs of 4. And these face coverings for a limited time only are up to 30% off, and they're shipping free. So go check them out today, chatsports.com/NBA mask. Let's go to my number 8 point guard, the Red Mamba, Nico Mannion. I mean, listen, Arizona has a lot of kids that are coming out of Arizona, that is, to go into the draft, and Nico Mannion's just one of them. Now, I've seen some pre-draft workouts of Nico Mannion shooting in the gym. It looks like he has added a little bit of weight, which bodes well for him because that was my problem with him on the defensive end. He's quick, he's fast, but he's not strong, and that's going to get him bullied around by the point guards in today's NBA. The one thing I will say about Nico Mannion is this kid has an incredible touch on his shot, both around the rim. His jump shot looks really, really strong, and there's times when he's in the open floor that he looks like probably more of a top 5 point guard, but a little bit out of control, and he did disappoint me just a little bit at Arizona in his freshman season. Now, one kid that I am continuing to trend upward on day by day is Tyrell Terry out of Stanford. He's got that Steph Curry, Trae Young range. And I'll tell you what, this kid went to Stanford for a reason. He's got it all going on up here, and that's going to bode well for him in both his pre-draft interviews and when he actually gets to the NBA. When he was with Stanford, I know the numbers don't look that crazy, but he was playing pretty limited minutes there in his freshman year. He put up 15 points per game, had about 5 boards, 3 assists, and that three-point percentage at 41% was, and usually you see that, you're like, it's NBA range. Not for Tyrell Terry. This kid was shooting it from deep all season long. Now, one reason that he is slowly but surely climbing up my draft board is because of this tweet right here. This is one of the brands that he goes and works out with and continues to train with before the draft, Beyond Athlete Management. And he said, when Tyrell Terry arrived at Stanford just 1 year ago, he was 6'1" and 155 pounds. If the wind was blowing too hard, he'd get blown right out of California. But then, this is what they went on to say, he set the Pac-12 on fire with a terrific freshman season. Now, he's standing 6'3" and 174 pounds. I mean, I don't understand why I can't grow like that. Like, why am I done growing, but Tyrell Terry's already grown 2 inches and added 20 pounds of what they say is muscle. That's ridiculous, but I like Terry a lot. I think he could end up in my top 5 here pretty soon, but I don't have him there quite yet. I want to ask you guys this question. Maybe it is Tyrell Terry, or maybe you've got another guy in mind. Who do you think is going to climb draft boards the most before we get to the NBA draft? It could be a point guard or really just anybody else that you might have in mind. Let me know in the comments section. Now let's go to my number 6 point guard before we get into the top 5. It's Kira Lewis Jr. from Roll Tide, Alabama. He is one of the truly fastest players in the NBA draft, and I'll tell you what, coming out as a sophomore was the best thing he could have done. He wanted to come out his freshman year, and then he was convinced to stay a little bit longer because he looked really not NBA ready his freshman year. But then he goes in sophomore year, lights Alabama on fire, does a great job there. 18.5 points per game, a solid step-back shooter. He's got a good jump shot that I think is going to translate well to the NBA. One question mark I have with him is, can he hold on to the ball at the next level? And I guess 2 questions. Is that sophomore year Kira Lewis Jr. going to come out, or is freshman year Kira Lewis Jr. going to come out? We'll have to wait and see. Let's get into my top 5, starting off with Tyrese Maxey, a guy actually close to my hometown. A great finisher, a gritty defender. He's got that high-energy bulldog mentality that is going to make him a fan favorite no matter where he gets drafted. Now, he's just a freshman, so that bodes well for his youth and his ability to develop. The only thing he needs to really improve on as he gets to the next level is that ability to facilitate and truly become that point guard role, because as you can see, despite playing the point guard position at Kentucky, he only averaged 2 assists. That's not that good. Jump shot, it's coming around. It's continuing to develop. I think he's going to be a very good NBA point guard. And we all saw from the finals, these Kentucky kids are taking the NBA by storm. That's almost why I had Tyrese Maxey ranked above this other freshman, Cole Anthony, out of North Carolina. Now, everybody knows Cole Anthony. Everybody watched him in high school. Everybody watched him his freshman year, but he had some injuries his freshman year. He was expected to be like a top 5 pick coming out of high school, but the injuries held him back, and he was a little up and down at his freshman year. The other problem I have with Cole Anthony is that, much like Tyrese Maxey, I'm not going to call this kid a true point guard. He is score-first mentality. He is a shooting guard in a point guard's body right now, which is why I don't have him cracking my top 3 quite yet. But when he was healthy, and that was only 22 games at UNC under Roy Williams, he was averaging 19 points per game, pulling down about 6 rebounds, which is good for a guard of his size, and shot the ball pretty well. But I'll tell you what, this kid is a fun athlete. I'm excited to watch him in summer league, in training camp, and at the next level as a whole. I got a 2-part question here for you. Who do you want your favorite team to draft this year? So you got to tell me who your favorite team is and who you want them to pick. Now, be realistic with me, okay? If you're like a fan of, the Boston Celtics that have the 30th pick, don't tell me you want them to take Anthony Edwards, who's going to be the number 1 pick, okay? Let's be somewhat realistic, a little give and take here. So, number 1, tell me who your favorite team is. Number 2, tell me who you want them to draft in 2020. Now let's get into the top 3 point guards. Starting off with number 3, Tyrese Haliburton out of Iowa State. High IQ, can play in the pick and roll, perfect in today's NBA. He is a coach's dream. He does everything right, but also that's a little bit of his downfall, but because he does so many things right, he's not a specialist in one area that makes him stand out all that much. Ugly jump shot, but it worked at Iowa State. I think it's going to work at the next level. I've already listed out 3 teams that I like for Tyrese Haliburton. The Detroit Pistons need a point guard desperately. That's why I actually have them taking another point guard that we're about to get to here in a minute. Number 8, the New York Knicks. They have the 8th pick, and again, they're moving on from Frank Tiddlywinks and Dennis Smith Jr. They're ready to move on to another point guard like Tyrese Haliburton. The pick that I like the most, actually, though, is the Phoenix Suns at 10. Putting him in the same backcourt as Devin Booker could work really, really well. Now, the player that I have the Detroit Pistons taking is this kid out of France, Killian Hayes. Now, he played basketball in Germany, although he is a French point guard. He's got great size. He's got that lefty finish, which just looks so pretty in transition and in the open floor. And when he gets to the basket, he doesn't lose the ball. Not a great defender, but I think his body type and body composition is going to make up for that, and it's going to be able to work well at the next level. Now, when he was playing in Germany, again, these per 36 numbers, you can see how good of a passer he was at 8 assists per game and a good scorer at 17 points per game. But the problem I have with Killian Hayes, and the reason he's not my number 1 prospect, is because he turns the ball over way too much. Per 36, he turned the ball over 5 times per game. But luckily, the kid's 18 years old. He's got a long way to grow. I think he's going to be a core piece of a team's future in this next year's draft. Of course, number 1, you're not surprised. I'm not surprised. Your mom that's probably looking over your shoulder, looking at your computer right now, is probably not surprised. It's LaMelo Ball, the kid out of Australia from the NBL. He's going straight to the NBA. Could be the number 1 pick according to multiple reports, but I think he'll fall more around 2 or 3. I don't think the Timberwolves are going to take him at 1. The one problem I have with LaMelo, and you guys know all the good, so I don't have to break down all the good that this kid does. He's tall. He's bigger than most average point guards. He's a good athlete when he gets around the rim, but he doesn't have a good jump shot. That's the only thing. It's awkward. It's weird, but it looks better than his brothers, and I think that bodes well for him. I think he's going to be better than Lonzo at the next level. He's not as good of a defender, but he's a better rebounder, a better passer, and really a better overall scorer than Lonzo as a whole. LaMelo is going to be great, and he's going to be a top 5 pick no matter what. So when you look at those top 5 teams, you got the T-Wolves at 1, who reportedly want to trade out of number 1, but if they keep it, I don't think they're going to take LaMelo. I think they'll take Anthony Edwards. Number 2, the Golden State Warriors. If I'm the Warriors, if you want to go for big, if you want a big man to meet your needs like Onyeka Okongwu, that's great. But if you just want to take the best player available, it's going to be LaMelo Ball. I love LaMelo Ball going to the Hornets. He could become their all-star there. Chicago Bulls could make some sense in the same backcourt as Kobe White. And the Cavaliers, maybe they're tired of Darius Garland, Colin Sexton. They want to go LaMelo Ball. It makes sense. But either way, if Ball falls out of the top 5, he's automatically the biggest steal of the draft. Now, you've made it all the way to the end of the video, and if you've watched a few of my videos, you know that I reward those that stay all the way to the end by giving us their most detailed answer in the comment section. I want you to put yourself in my shoes and give me your top 3 point guards in this 2020 NBA draft class. So 1 all the way down to 3, rank them down below.